everyone.
Hello.
So, this is our post-meeting video to talk about what happened in the Otter Creek meeting.
Yep, it's a bonus video.
It's a bonus video. That's why we're putting it out on a
video day.
Right, Thursday.
A non-traditional video day, which
Correct.
we do from time to time anyway. So, surprise!
So, once again, our disclaimer is, if you're not interested in this,
don't watch it.
don't watch it. If you are interested in this,
watch it.
Watch it.
It's that simple, y'all.
Pretty simple. On, off.
And the reason that I feel it's necessary, like I told you before in the last video, if I don't feel it's necessary to do a recap, I won't. But the huge reason I feel it's necessary is because I'm sure y'all had the same problem as we did. It's very hard to hear what actually happened in that meeting. So it does take a lot of analyzing, and even still there's some stuff I'm not 100% about, but we get the gist of most of it. So we just like to recap it because you guys have made plenty of comment that you couldn't really understand a lot of stuff that was going on, and you appreciate us explaining it and going over it with you. So we don't mind helping you out in that way.
Some of the reasons that we're not able to hear the video very well is, one, they're not microphoned, and there's several reasons for that. We won't go into that, but because it's already been discussed. But the room, if you remember, they tore down the ceiling tiles and the wall tiles. The top 4 feet of the room had soundproof tiles all the way around and on the ceiling. Well, they took all of that out. So now the sound, not only is some people speaking low, but the sound is bouncing off the walls and ceiling.
It's concrete in every direction.
Yes, so
even the floor is concrete.
Yeah, they need to put some more soundproof.
So, and again, for a small town, it's hard to have all these different resources and to do all these different things to provide a good quality audio. So maybe in the future they will, maybe they won't. It's hard to come up with all these different kinds of monies to do all the things you'd like to do.
So without further ado, we'll jump into it. We do have a lot to go over.
So we'll look back and forth at the agenda too to make sure we're following along, and beginning with the call to order and the pledge and the roll call. We'll go over who was there, who wasn't there. And the first thing I noticed of who wasn't there, board members, I didn't see Joseph to start, I didn't see Rex to start, and I didn't see Megan, the lawyer, to start. So we found out that Megan was there on the telephone.
Okay.
So there was a reason she couldn't make it there in person. So the next best thing was by phone, of course, because you do want her there. Mm-hmm. She is very important to the town. So that was good that she was on there. Rex did come in late to the meeting, so he must have had an emergency that kept him behind, I'm assuming. And Joseph, in the meeting, Zim had mentioned that they hadn't heard from him in a while. So is he on the board anymore? Is he off the board? Nobody really knows.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I know usually after you miss so many meetings, you would be considered not on the board anymore. I don't know legally what that is. And I don't know that there's a legal requirement to replace the person if there's a vacant seat, especially if they have a quorum. I know if they didn't have a quorum, there would be an immediate need to replace that seat.
Right.
So I don't know, because again, with the old ordinances that they have, not all of them jived with what was truly legal by the state laws. Mm-hmm. So some of them were old and not redone. So it would be up to Megan, and I'm sure they'll discuss that in the future and let people know if he's on the board still or off the board, or if they plan on replacing that seat, because you are pretty close to elections anyway, and by the time all is said and done with there being a quorum, it might not even be worth it to try to fill that seat. But we'll stay tuned to see what happens in that capacity. So that was the people on the board that were there. What did you notice about the audience?
Well,
it looked pretty slim.
It was slim. So a lot of the notice the normal regulars, like when
the ones that live in the town or out of the town?
Both. Well, the ones that live out of the town that normally came, like Mr. Fuller and the Strawn family, I didn't see any of them present in any of the...
I haven't seen them in a while. Kind of about the timeline that Russell stopped going to the meetings is about the timeline that they all dropped off.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And Russell wasn't there.
Yeah, he hasn't been there.
No surprise. But if you care about the town, don't you still come to the meetings?
You would think.
So you can advocate.
But there's quite a few people that have dropped off. Norma, she doesn't come to the meetings anymore.
Nope. Other obvious absentees. How about...
I didn't see Joy at the meeting.
I didn't see Joy. Gail. The Hudson sisters.
I saw Ellie. I think she was the only person from the town that's not required to be there. Now, Richard was there, but he's the maintenance man, so he's being paid to be there. But I will say that even when he wasn't paid to be there, he was always in the audience, unless there was some kind of emergency.
You did have a few people in the audience that don't even live in the town.
Yeah, I was surprised to see a couple of those. Now, there wasn't very many people at all, even with that.
Maybe 8 or 10.
If even.
Yeah.
You had Ellie. Don showed up. Now we can say Don showed up. He lives in the town. I almost forgot about him.
But he left early.
Yeah, he walked out. He walked out.
That's what Don does, right? He walks out.
So if you're keeping count, how many times has Don walked out of a meeting? Now, you won't have a true answer because Don's been walking out since before this was being filmed.
Yeah.
But there's been quite a few. I'll also note that with Don, that was the quietest I've ever seen him in attendance.
Yeah.
On or off the board. So it's pretty peculiar that he walked out. I don't know if there was something that upset him.
Yeah, I don't know
why he showed up.
I don't even know why he was there. Or it's good that he was there. That's fine.
Well, sure, you should be there to find things out, but why he didn't stay till the end is the odder question.
He left. So I don't understand why he was there, and then I don't understand why he left.
I can assume he was there to hear the reading of the election stuff.
I guess so.
I can also assume that he may have been there to see if Joseph showed up.
Maybe.
I mean, these are all assumptions. We don't know. But I think it's odd that he didn't stay till the end of the meeting. And also odd that he was quiet.
It was probably more about the election ordinance than Joseph.
Probably.
In my opinion.
But there was very few people in the audience. There was the gentleman who does the animal trapping there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I've forgotten his first name.
Yeah, I forgot to.
So,
but he's always there. He's the most consistent.
He is very consistent. He doesn't even live in the town.
I can't make him a board member.
No.
But it would be good if he owned a property in the...
Yeah, but it was just interesting to see who's showing up these days, who's not showing up. The crowd's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first things that we noticed with that. And then, let's see, back to... They had the public comments reminder.
That seemed to be a big deal.
So... You know, again, it was very hard to hear a lot of the stuff, but from what I could understand Zim saying with that is that public comments is for comments only. And if you have any questions, you need to submit them to the office. So...
Would you have done that?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I personally don't understand that.
Because
I understand the fact that you can't expect your questions to be answered at the meeting.
Right.
But
you can hear them for everyone to hear.
That would be a point, I would think, for you to say,
yeah,
that's a good question. I'm going to have to do research about that and I'll get back to you.
But then everybody in the room hears the question.
Right.
So there's accountability.
Right. But I don't really understand that. I can't... you know, it's not my
we don't know. We're not
my meeting. I can't run it, but I again always encouraged public comment and or question. It didn't really matter. But I do remember Russell used to say that too, that no questions.
Well, yeah, of course.
He just wanted comments, but he wouldn't even allow the comments. He would just shut the meeting down completely.
I understand that from Russell. That's to be expected because he doesn't want to have to answer the hard questions. Like I asked him, and he said, "Sue us."
So again, in order to be acknowledged, it says you have to fill out the card and put it in the box, but it should only be a comment, not a question. But yeah, that was the famous line, "Sue us," when you asked him something. So then the agenda and the minutes were approved.
Pretty routine stuff there. That's good.
Then for old business, they had the contract with Joseph Payne for the building, and that was approved.
That's good.
I think it was mostly approved already. They just had to add some stuff and then officially approve it again. Then under the new business was the reading of the ordinance for the elections. And that would be the first reading. Again, they'll do the second reading in December. And from what I heard, that was all approved.
Yeah, I think it was just a date thing. It was nothing changing the number of members or
yeah, because they were changing the announcement. I believe originally the announcement of the seats was in October, and they're changing it to December. So it'd be closer to everything, and people don't forget about it. Because as you know, people have very short attention spans these days.
Well, they moved the election. They had previously moved the election month. And so they probably, this is the ordinance to follow up on the announcement of the seats. So if you're going to move the voting, then you have to move the announcement of the voting.
Correct.
That's
there was a few things
took them a couple
they
years.
didn't do properly with that.
Right.
And so there was a few things, like all their ordinances, it seemed, that need fixing because they were not written very well.
Right.
We'll just put it that way. So that went through. And then they were talking also about the Christmas light contest. So last year, I remember they did have a Christmas light contest. And I think that's something that they're going to continue to do every year. I couldn't hear the amounts if they were doing first, second, or third, because I do believe last year they did that. I just remember hearing something about a $50 amount. It was all approved, so they will be doing the Christmas lighting contest again, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives something extra to look forward to and some incentive to get out there and decorate, maybe help pay your electric bill for putting up those lights.
Yeah.
So that's nice, and it makes the town look nicer when you have lights. I know I like driving around looking at Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Even people
so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. So there's good stuff happening, and you got to appreciate the good stuff. They did mention, let's see, the contract for the engineering services for the CDBG. Say that 3 times fast.
So that's about
for the community center.
Community center again, yeah.
So it looks like that went through, that they got a contract. Now I don't know what the timeline for any of that's going to be. I would expect some years to go by before you see that come to fruition.
It's a good word. I like that. Fruition.
Fruition.
What has it been? A couple years already since I talked about this.
Right.
When it comes
to government, isn't everything kind of slow?
It's completely started over with a whole new contract.
Everything is so slow.
So the last 2 years,
all the red tape and all this other stuff with government kind of makes it really hard for a small town to be successful. Yeah. That's for sure. Especially when they put you on the same guidelines as the bigger towns.
Yeah. Well, they tried to do that too with the disclosing of all your financials. And remember all the people that left these small town boards, including yourself,
Yeah.
because they didn't feel it was right to have to disclose all our personal information. And then they did exempt the small towns. Eventually, it took a while.
Yeah, but look at all those people that resigned from their positions.
People.
Now, when that happened, they just didn't go right back to those positions because those positions had already been filled by other people. And maybe some that were still vacant got to go back, but I don't think there really was that. So it was a huge loss for a lot of knowledge, because I know across the state a lot of those people who have been there for a while and very knowledgeable.
Some towns, I think the town next to us, I forget the name of it, but didn't they lose all of their board members and the mayor decided to stay on, or there would be no board? The town north of us.
I think that happened with a few Inglis you're talking about?
Yeah. Didn't that happen there?
I'm not sure. I know McIntosh also had that happen where...
Oh, yeah. All the board members
left. I think that happened in a few towns.
Yeah.
So it is a big loss of knowledge in those instances.
In some of these towns, they're just volunteers, or they're just making, in the case of Otter Creek, they're making $100 a month. It's not worth the risk to disclose all of your personal information.
Certainly not.
For $100 a month.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
So then, what else were they talking about? Let's see. There was something on the agenda for the resolution procedures for the comments, but I did not hear any resolution with the public comments. So either they just removed that from the agenda or forgot about it.
Now the agenda is something they go by, but right in the beginning of the meeting, they can opt to add stuff to the agenda or take stuff off the agenda. All they have to do is vote to approve it.
Right. Even at any point in the meeting, you can add into the agenda, but there's usually a vote to do so.
Yes, but it's a living, breathing document. It can be modified during the meeting.
So if something is left off that was already on it, you might usually mention that you're not doing it or whatever, but if you added into it, you would vote for it to be added into.
Correct. Yeah.
As far as I know, last.
And they also discussed some things that were not even on the agenda, so those things should have been added.
So what was that they discussed that wasn't on the agenda? That was the website.
They talked about the website. That's not mentioned on the agenda.
So
they talked at length about the website.
So since we're talking about that, what did they discuss? Now, the website, when I was there at the tail end of me being there, Gatorworks was going to be doing the website. And I know I was having a hard time the last little bit of being there, getting them to respond to doing the website. So I don't know if they were just had too much on their plate. And I don't know where it really went after I left because I was at the tail end of that. But they didn't really produce anything. They did put up this blankish under construction website with nothing really on it. So I don't know what ended up happening there or what they ended up getting paid or any of those things, because there was a monthly maintenance fee you were paying. There's usually an initial setup fee that you pay. I know that they came in and reworked the computer system at the tail end of me being there. So I don't know what happened after that, but nothing that I ever saw on the website really occurred. So I was kind of surprised that something wasn't done with that sooner.
And it's been a year already, if not going on 2 years about this website, and still we have nothing.
So they were talking about, I guess that company, I assume they're talking about Gatorworks, was not able to do the website. So they were looking into having somebody else do it. And come to find out, the website wasn't ADA compliant.
Now, what does that mean, do you ask?
That was a question even we had.
Yeah.
What is ADA compliant?
I looked it all up, and it mostly talks about the font sizes. So it has to do, what is ADA first? It's the American with Disabilities Act. So they pretty recently passed a law that small businesses and municipalities must be in compliance with ADA. So it means that you must have fonts that are easy to read, colors that can be discerned for the colorblind, large size fonts.
The ability to zoom into the document.
Yes, clickable links, and there's an assortment of things. But none of these things are really hard. I mean,
this is another one of those things that I was talking about with the guidelines of how they make it so hard for the small municipalities because in your budget you don't have that much money. And she was saying that this new company would be somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 for the initial setup fee, which is a pretty hefty amount, and then $75 a month to maintain it.
And what would they be doing?
My question is, what exactly will be on this website? I know they were talking about an interactive calendar, paying your water bill, putting the agenda up, putting the minutes up, and those public documents. Now, I don't know if they plan on uploading all of the ordinances onto that website.
Because they're supposed to be codified.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would do that without them being codified, and that is a hefty fee to get them codified.
About 10 grand. Yeah.
Some are 20,000.
That was to
even,
start, yeah. And you had to give them all the information.
Right.
I mean, you had to type it all up.
You had to have it ready in a Word document, which they are not.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not in that format. So that's a lot of work. And yes, you can try to obtain some grants to get it codified, but that also takes work too. And Belinda's got a lot on her plate. So I'm not really sure if the website is just going to have the calendar, paying your water bills, the agenda, and the minutes. That seems like a hefty price to pay for that when you could have a Facebook page that has those things for free.
I was going to ask you, can a Facebook page do that stuff?
I've seen many small towns that have a Facebook page only, and well, they don't even have those things loaded up. They just have a Facebook page and are very minimal, because it's very hard for a small municipality to be able to afford all these different things. Okay. So that's why a lot of them are not incorporated. So, and if they are incorporated, they look for ways to not have to pay these big monies to do it. So that would be my huge question. Are they looking to put all the town ordinances on this website? If so, then I could see this initial fee. But if you're just looking to put up these couple little documents, I would try to just do it on a Facebook page for free.
Free.
Because overall, you want to keep your budget of your town down, and it seems like they have a lot of heavy expenses going on. So I was surprised to see that. But that was one thing that was not on the agenda that was talked about.
It was talked about at length too.
Yeah,
it went on for a while.
So they had to do a motion to be able to do that. So that's why they had to talk about it at length. So that was an interesting one. But yeah, that's a huge question that I have about what exactly is going on that website, that it's worth that amount of money. Yeah. I know everybody wants to see the town go in a good direction, and there's some people that want to see it be this big, abundant, thriving town, but I think maybe that might only be the business owners of the town. Yeah. I know there's a good amount of residents that would be happy with no change at all.
And that's the vast majority.
So, you know, and you want your town to be nice and you want it to grow some, but you have to keep your checks and balances with your budget. And if you don't have this big, huge city, you can't be paying all these absorbent things. It's like putting the cart before the horse. Mm-hmm. So you have to have these things grow with you as your town grows.
You can't be buying big ticket things if you don't have people supporting it.
So it's a very fine balance that you have to try to maintain to make it all work.
You have to have the money first. You got to have the people to have the money. So if you don't have the people...
So it's a tricky little situation.
Yeah.
So what else were they talking about? They were, let's see, what is on the agenda next? I know we kind of flipped out of the agenda with that extra item. So then they were talking about the department reports. And there was a status on the fiber optic in the area. What did you hear about that?
Yeah, it was very hard to hear. So she was listening to one media. I was listening to another medium. I believe Belinda was just stating that it's still on schedule and it's looking to happen in December. So they're very close to getting fiber optics from Central Florida Electric Co-op.
And that'll be great.
This is a huge thing. This is something I was screaming about. And I think she also reminded residents that if they're interested in getting this, you need to go on their website and make sure that you pre-register. It's very easy to do. Basically, it's just listing your address so that when they come out to install it, they knock on your door and, you know, they'll have to run the box and stuff into your house. And
it ends up being cheaper if you pre-register
you're
rather than having to get it after the fact.
Right. You're saving $100 to $200, something like that, for the hookup fee. They waive the hookup fee.
So then
we've been the campground's been pre-registered for several years now.
So
already done that.
No, everybody will be happy to get that in there.
Yeah, it was scheduled for the fourth quarter of 24 anyway, and we're in the fourth quarter, so it looks like December is going to be. They're on schedule, so it's good, big good. I think that's huge.
Yeah, another big positive coming to the town.
Yeah.
So then on the agenda, they also have festival statues. So I don't think they're going to have any statues arriving in the town.
That's a typo.
So I think it's a typo and it's supposed to be statutes. Now I didn't hear any statutes that have to do with the festival either.
I didn't either.
All I did hear was something about needing sponsors for some signs. Yeah. I don't really know anything more than that. I was hoping to actually hear again more details about the festival, since the festival is coming up in what
3
is
weeks?
It? So
3 weeks.
I didn't really hear details about anything once again, which is odd. It would have been a good time to talk about the festival, even mention Christmas in the Creek, since they are also going to be
collaborating on that.
The main part now of Christmas in the Creek.
Yeah.
So
and there's not another meeting before the event. So
no.
There's still a lot of questions unanswered. Do we have security issues still? Do we have running dogs? Do we not entertain any more about that? That got dropped.
Right. Yeah. Because they haven't been talking about the animal stuff anymore.
I guess it's a festival where they put up a big sign that says "Enter at your own risk."
They didn't talk about where parking will be, the bathrooms, the booths, like nothing. So they need some signs. That's all we know.
We think this is another thing where the cart is before the horse.
Yeah.
The town is not really ready for this, and they just kind of threw it together.
I think they should have waited for at least another year, maybe started it in 2025 till they got a few things ironed out. That's my personal opinion. So yeah, and I would have thought at this point that we would have heard something about it.
Planning and coordinating is not really a strong suit here.
So then there is an update about the W3C funds, which, if you remember at the last meeting, they were talking about chipping in $25,000 with the other two cities, so each one would chip in that money to move further so the project could keep rolling.
Now they're finding that those towns can't afford it.
No, I think what they said was that it was going to be more than the 75,000, and none of the towns could afford to chip in that much.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong, because again,
I know
the hearing of everything was a little rough, but that's what I think I heard, was that they were going to have to go a different avenue with that. And if you heard differently, let me know.
So WC3 is the Wakasasa and Wastewater and Water Management Board.
And they need that for the clean water.
This is the pipeline to Cedar Key from Bronson. That's
Yes.
what we're talking about.
And that's another one of those things that's going to take years
Oh.
to come to fruition.
6 years, 10 years.
Yeah, a lot of years.
If it ever happens. I mean,
so that was that. Then they were also talking about, I don't think they did get to maintenance, and Richard was talking about safety in the maintenance. And I know exactly what Richard is talking about, and I completely agree with him. He mentioned this back in the day when Russell was mayor. At the very end of my being mayor, he mentioned this, and I don't know what happened to it because I wasn't there anymore. So I guess nothing really happened with it, because that's another thing too. Now, Belinda has a lot of stuff on her plate, and coming into that office, there was so much stuff to deal with, and your first priority is always going to be to take care of the things that you need to take care of to not get fined or lose your revenue.
Yeah, you gotta have those dates are hard dates.
That's most important. So you have your list of priorities, and those are at the top of the list, and there was quite a few of them. So I guess that did not get addressed. I wasn't there anymore, so I don't know, but I know Richard has brought it up several times throughout the years.
Yes.
And he is 100% right. That is a dangerous area, because you have in the one direction a stop sign. You have like 4 roads coming in all together, and this way there's a yield sign, this way there's a stop sign, coming up this way there's nothing, coming up this way there's nothing, and the yield sign that's this way nobody even pays attention to.
No.
So I know several times throughout the years when we were on the golf cart or even in our vehicle, you would have people come racing through this way that came up that long street and just totally bypass the yield sign. They don't turn at all.
Nope.
And those were the biggest problems, because you couldn't really see them coming out because there was so much brush growing on that corner, and that building sits pretty close to the edge of the road there. So it's a kind of a big blind spot.
Yeah.
So you have that problem.
Now I think the fix to this is pretty simple. Now Laura said she knows people, so maybe she can get a sign. I think
I hope she does.
I think it's going to end up being Zim is going to have to do it, just like usual. But all someone needs to do really is go down to the DOT in Bronson. There's an office right there on the outskirts of Bronson. Go in there, and they keep signs. They have a bunch of signs. It can be an old used sign. I bet for a stop sign, it's not hard to get a stop sign. I bet you just say, hey, Mayor of Otter Creek, or I represent the board of Otter Creek, we'd like to get one stop sign if you could offer a stop sign up. Now, whether they get the post that comes with it or not just depends on what they have available. But usually, DOT is usually pretty good, easy to work with. So I think they would just give you a sign.
It should be fairly easy to make that happen. It's just a matter of somebody getting on the ball to do it. So hopefully between Zim and Laura,
somebody can actually drive down there.
They can definitely get it done.
And
then
stop sign.
The next thing you have to hope for is that somebody pays attention to that stop sign, unlike they did with the yield sign.
Well, at least if there's an accident, there's liability.
But Richard is 100% correct that does need to be taken care of. And I appreciate that he is still bringing that to the board, and I do believe now with stuff being more taken care of than ever before that will absolutely get done.
Thumbs up, Richard.
Yep, good job everybody. And that's just another example of people working together can get things done,
getting involved.
So that's good. I commend everybody for doing that, being united, and getting things done.
I wonder if Richard, since he's there in the capacity of a maintenance man or as a resident, should he have put in a comment card? Because he made a comment. I'm just asking. I don't know.
You can split hairs with all the different things, and that's why it is kind of silly for the whole comment thing anyway.
You almost have more board members than you have people attending the meeting.
But
so it's,
you know, again, with my public comment, I just want everyone to be courteous. I mean, that is the main goal.
Okay, we're going to get to something.
So
When you're on it, I'll chime in because this is kind of my soapbox.
Do you want to talk about that or the water?
Oh, both. We have two more points to talk about. One's pretty quick and easy. The water. So what's going on with the water is, you remember those water filters and the pumps got fixed and the plumbing was wrong and failed the pumps. This was all a Russell catastrophe. They finally got the pumps and they finally got the water hooked back up to these filters that were provided by this company. I don't remember the company name. Well, those filters sat in a hot box for a number of months, and they're just now being reactivated. So now those filters are no good. They're not filtrate. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They got basically damaged from the heat.
Yep, sitting in the heat.
Sitting in that hot Connex box at probably 200 degrees in that box in the summertime. So because of that, these filters are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not removing the tannings. Now, I spoke to Zim about this. I actually called him after the meeting, and he gave me a little enlightenment that we didn't really get in the meeting, or we couldn't hear it. They're in negotiations with, we did hear that in the meeting, they're in negotiations with the company that provided the filter. It's in a box. It's in a Connex container. You can walk into it. There's a number of filters there. They're expensive filters. $8,000 was the number that it would cost to get them fixed or replaced.
And that company does not want to.
They don't want to pay for it.
Pay for it at all.
So there are continued negotiations. We don't know what's going to happen, but for the foreseeable future,
I think they're going to try to negotiate to get that company to meet them halfway, because the cost is $8,000, and that's something that has to be replaced every 2 to 3 years, from what I'm understanding the media.
Wow.
In those filters.
So clean water is an expensive process.
Yeah. And I think that they can borrow the money from the water fund, or there's some kind of borrowing that needs to happen to be able to do it.
And I'm sure grants are in place for this.
And they would have to, they have to borrow money, and they'll have to put the money back into those accounts over time.
I gotcha.
Now, what might have to happen is they might have to raise the rates of the water to help cover that expense. I mean, the bottom line is, whenever you have things in the city that need to be paid for, you can raise taxes, you can raise the water rates. Those are things, but monies are being raised to cover these costs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and with so few people in the town, everyone has to chip in. That means everyone has to chip in more.
Right. And unfortunately, they're paying a hefty price for bad water.
For bad water. For water they can't drink. They can't drink.
I mean, since the beginning of time in that town, it seems that the water's been bad and nobody's been able to fix it. And during the time I was there was very short. And again, all this red tape and all these things you have to go through with DEP.
Some people think the mayor has a magic wand and can make
everything happen just like that.
But it doesn't. You have all these bureaucracies and agencies.
Hoops to jump through.
And if you remember, she didn't have any help on the board. She couldn't get anything passed because Don and Russ were saying no to everything.
Well, they were not in communication with DEP.
Right.
So all these things had fell by the side. And then I came in and had to try to fix it. And then you're talking about things that already take time. Now they've let them fall to the side, and they've gone against different things. And you got to try. It just adds more time into the timeline.
Yeah. So it wasn't going to be a quick fix.
Nothing is fast. It's unfortunate, but that's the red tape of government. And so who knows how long it's going to take for these poor people to have clean water, or how much it's going to cost them to have clean water. It's a sad situation, because I think everybody all over the planet deserves to have clean water.
Absolutely. And they're paying a lot for their water. I think they're paying $24 per 4,000 gallons or something.
I don't even remember
per 2,000 gallons. I know where we now live in Tennessee, we're paying $16 for 2,000 gallons of water.
And it is some
And
sweet, delicious water.
Perfect. It is spring water.
So everybody deserves that. So this is one of the biggest things that I hope for them, is that they have clean water above everything else.
And Otter Creek's already paying more for water than any of the other towns around them except Cedar Key.
It's sad. And I don't think Cedar Key's water is anything to brag about either.
It's yeah.
Which again is why they're trying to do the pipeline.
But they have more people in Cedar Key that they can draw from.
Certainly.
But they still can't get the
more
good
people
water
with
either.
money.
Right. More affluent people.
So.
Okay, the last thing is, go ahead before I mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, well, I think that's all there is to say on that. And they took a vote that they will be trying to negotiate that price down and hopefully get that taken care of rather quickly. So,
okay,
go ahead.
This is my soapbox on the entire meeting. Now, I don't even know if this was in the meeting, actually.
Nope.
But it was a question I asked him about, and he gave me an answer. So I think it's something worth questioning or bringing before in this segment.
Oh,
I'm still looking at my notes.
So sorry, I thought you were there.
The code enforcement. Okay, code enforcement. Because I asked them about these ordinances that they have going on and why they don't have something pertaining to code enforcement. He, I guess, gets tired of answering that question because he went into a different tone with me a little bit. He can't implement any code enforcement in Otter Creek because they need to have a panel of 5 people. And those 5 people, although they can be board members, they shouldn't be board members. So you have a town of 100 people where already people don't want to really get on this board or get involved. So you have to get a panel of 5 people in order if there's if there's a code infraction, there has to be an appeal process. Other towns around there have an appeal process and have a panel of 5 people for this board.
Right. If you look at Bronson's ordinances, which I just did recently, where I was looking into Chiefland and Bronson's ordinances to look if they had anything regarding public comment, because I was interested. I did run across the ordinance with the 5 board members for the code enforcement that Bronson has, which you've told me about that in the past too, where they've talked about that.
Yeah.
But other towns do have that in their ordinances.
Well, they have a lot more people.
Right.
When you have 10,000 people, 20,000 people, you can get these things.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for sure.
Again, I can't reemphasize this. I'm not going to go and belabor this point, but the town should unincorporate. And this is another reason they're not ever going to have code enforcement. That means the town can do pretty much whatever it wants.
You can write all the ordinances under the sun.
Yes.
If you don't have any way to enforce them, it's just a piece of paper.
It's just a piece of
with
paper.
some ink on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean nothing.
It's all fine and dandy, but you can't enforce it. There's no way to, which is why you see a lot of the stuff that you see in that town where people ask, well, doesn't this person need a permit to put up a fence? Or doesn't this person need to have something to live in an RV on their property?
The county says yes, but the county's not in charge of Otter Creek.
Who's enforcing it? There's no code enforcement.
No code enforcement. So this is another reason. I want to hear the reasons that people say we don't want to unincorporate. We want to stay an incorporated town. Why? Why? If you unincorporate, your taxes go down. You'll get clean water because now the county has to fund it or help fund it. They have to get the water clean. So all the burden is on them. You would have better police protection instead of asking for them to come out. You'd have people patrolling in the town better, more. But you'd have code enforcement. You would instantly get code enforcement. All these services that municipalities are required to do but can't do because they can't afford it.
I thought Gail made some great
They would have
points.
it. Right away, they would have it. The day that they unincorporate, bam, the county has to take them over. You don't lose your town. You just lose the board. You still have water. You still have police, fire. You still have code enforcement. Now
No,
the
you can't
county,
say still have.
right,
You actually would
have that you don't have now. You still have a name. You would just be the unincorporated town of Otter Creek. Just like the towns all over the place, all over Florida. Many of them are unincorporated by choice.
I think most of the residents' reasoning for not wanting to unincorporate has to do with their very sweet, lovely memories of what once was.
Well, yeah, well, those days are gone.
And when people hold on to sweet, loving memories so tightly,
They don't want change.
they don't want change and they don't want to let go, although they already live in the change. It does exist, it has changed, and you probably will never see those sweet, lovely times again. It doesn't change those times and memories and make them non-existent. It's like everybody who keeps trying to erase the past of our nation. You can't erase the past. It happened already.
Yeah.
You can't change it. You can erase, take down statues, you can try to ink out books, but unless you brainwash everybody and take it out of their minds, it still happened. It still existed. And I would never want to discount the good people that put lovely things into play and made a small town great. You can't erase that. It happened, it's there, but it's not there anymore. And it has changed. And I think they're afraid that if they unincorporate it, it takes away that lovely memory and the honor to those people, and it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Gail made a good point way back when about the reason to unincorporate was to stop all the fighting. And even Don, when he put a motion to unincorporate, I believe that was the main backbone was, well, I know he didn't want to clean up his yard, which is kind of silly because I think since then he has gotten rid of some stuff out of his yard.
Yeah.
But it would stop the fighting, and I would hope that that was part of his point for wanting to dissolve the town. But I know also that in the past where Russell wanted to dissolve the incorporation was because he wasn't in power anymore, and maybe that was part of why Don wanted to, because he wouldn't be on the board or whatever. But if we're all being realistic, we can agree that it would stop the fighting, it would allow so many more services into the town, and it wouldn't change,
and your taxes would go down,
the history of the town.
The taxes don't go up in the county because your town dissolves. It's just the town tax goes away. You still have the county tax, and it's the same. It's the same. You're paying that regardless. You're not going to pay more. They can't change the county tax rate based on an unincorporated town's population. That's not how that works. It's based on the county.
So if they choose to stay incorporated, I hope that they can continue to keep figuring out ways to come up with big chunks of money to cover the things that they need to cover so that they can do so. And either way, again, I hope and pray that the town continues to move in a good, positive direction. And as we've seen, with less people attending, less people recording, a lot of people were just interested in the drama of the town, and maybe as time goes on, Otter Creek will just end up being a quiet, small town that everyone forgot about. And forgot about in the sense that they're not stirring up drama.
And you know what? Unincorporating would help that too, because there'd be no board.
I don't want people to forget about it in the sense that it's not going in a good direction, but forget about it in the sense that we're no longer stirring up drama or making this big scene of the town. So, and unfortunately, there was things happening, and they still do happen, that there is drama, but it's not good stuff. So hopefully all that bad stuff just goes away, and like I said, less people are filming it and watching it, because some people just love drama.
And one more thing I kind of forgot, if we can go back.
Nope, can't do it.
The filters, the $8,000. That it may get negotiated down, but right now it's $8,000 plus the $10,000 it cost to get the pump fixed and the plumbing that Russell did, and then the $7,500 he misappropriated. Remember that? Add all this to Russell's bill. So whatever these filters cost, this gets added to that bill because he caused the damage to those pumps, which made the filters sit for so long and couldn't be used.
It's a shame that he
All of
really
this
didn't
is
love
his
the
bill.
town.
It's shameful.
It's a shame he didn't love the town and care for the people the way he should have, and been a good steward.
And he didn't do a smooth transition.
He could have made that town something spectacular. He could have done so many things, and it's a shame that he didn't.
And you know what? To be honest, if he hadn't come after us, he'd probably still be the mayor, because we didn't really care to be mayor. We didn't really care that he was mayor. He really had nothing to do with the campground. The campground is governed by the health department.
If he didn't play shady games, he would have been the mayor still to this day without any issue.
We
but
don't have to like
the fact of the matter is, he kept coming after people, and he's done it all throughout time. Just people didn't have any ways to fight him and go against him, so they just took what he was lashing out at them and turned the other cheek and dealt with it. But he came across people that weren't willing to do that, and he tried with us and then with Jeremy, and it wasn't okay. But if
and the town got sued twice.
If he wouldn't have done those things, he'd still be in there, mayor, doing whatever.
So
but
that lawsuit should be tagged onto his bill too.
They say greed is the squasher of all good things, and I guess he got greedy.
And the mayor of this town, to be honest, they don't have that much authority. You can do a few things, like you know, with the vacant seat. That was great. You had the power to do that, because that had never been done before, and they fought it and they lost. But as far as waving a magic wand, the mayor of this town doesn't have much authority. They really just run the board. The board makes the decision. And Zim said, look, the town will never vote to be unincorporated, and I agree with him.
They won't.
Most of them will never unincorporate it, and this is because they don't really understand that would help them. It would help them personally. It would help the town as well. They don't understand that. They don't get it. So they're just not going to vote for something they don't understand. They don't want change. They won't embrace change. And so they're stuck with this town that will never be able to bring the services it needs to be incorporated. It's just going to run as an incorporated town with handcuffs on. They can't afford to do anything. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. Not in our lifetime.
So I guess pray for Mayberry to arrive in Otter Creek.
Yeah, I guess some people need to, I hate to say this, but some people need to die off and get better people in there that have the common sense to realize that, hey, the town would benefit being unincorporated. Absolutely would. But you don't have to take our word for it. We did the research on it. We went to the tax appraiser's office. We asked these questions, and this is what they came back with. The town still doesn't want to do it. I don't get it. I don't understand. Anyway, we don't have those problems in Tennessee, do we? It's great. It's beautiful. We love it. That's all I got. That was a soapbox for me. I'm sorry. A couple of those things that kind of got long-winded, but those are important. Those were very important matters to me. Being a campground, being a business, having clean water, and code enforcement was huge. Now, the majority of town isn't interested in the code enforcement because they don't care. It doesn't affect them, and that's the core issue.
Or maybe because they're part of the problem.
Or that. But there's only a handful of people that are affected by this code enforcement. It's the people who want to build. So, all right.
So then moving on
digress.
to the moving on into the agenda, there was the announcements, which the children's table was going to be doing a Thanksgiving meal, which is very nice. I don't know if they had stopped coming to the town with the hurricane and everything. They might have stopped. I know that happens during different times. Catholic Charities had stopped coming to the town because there was not enough people coming there, but they were going to be having a Thanksgiving feast, so that's very nice. And then they were talking about the Wackasassa meeting, which is on Wednesdays, the third Wednesday of every month, and that one was in Bronson. And there was no public comment at all. So
he kind of shut it down.
So I guess he got his wish there.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really any public to comment either. So win-win, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that meeting. And again, we will be at the next meeting ourselves. And
we plan on live
streaming. Hopefully
we will announce it again as a reminder.
Hopefully we will be able to provide some better sound in there during that meeting. No promises.
No promises. The acoustics are terrible.
The acoustics are absolutely horrendous in that building. And but we will do our best because we know you guys would like to see that. So we will be attending that meeting. Since we will be attending the festival, we'll just stay in town for a couple extra days to provide that live meeting for you.
Maybe we'll fill out a comment card.
Maybe. But don't ask any questions.
Don't ask any questions.
I'm a little tempted to ask a question though, because I was told I couldn't.
Yeah, I know. You want to do it just to see how they process it.
We'll see.
But in case you guys were trying to read my shirt and you couldn't.
I love this shirt. It's hilarious. I know when he wears it, a lot of people do laugh.
So one of our great fans sent this to us.
Yeah, Sherry. She sent that. Yep.
We think it's funny. We have gotten some noticeable comments when we're walking around Savannah.
She has a lovely sense of humor.
A lady yesterday goes, "I love your shirt." I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
I like mine too.
Yeah.
Never alone, never without help.
That's right.
That is the ultimate truth. God is with us every day.
And God is with Otter Creek.
All around us. He is with Otter Creek. He is always in the background doing tremendous, wonderful things. Even if we don't see him, he's always there. We are the ones that block the view at times. So I love always reminding myself and everyone around me that we are not alone. And I hope you never do feel alone. Yeah. But anywho, on a positive note.
We thought this would be 30 minutes and here we are.
Here we are.
Well, we enjoyed talking to you, and this is an extra video.
Yep, always fun spending time with you.
This is an Otter Creek video. We'll have another one Sunday. We'll have a live Sunday. And we got more Savannah videos coming out this week and probably next week.
Beautiful Savannah, an absolute beautiful city to see.
Now, we're not city people, but if we had to pick a city to live in, pick a city,
100%.
We would live here. We do. The people they're nice enough. They're not Tennessee nice, but they're nicer than Florida.
They got Southern hospitality.
They have Southern hospitality. But I'm going to say, my experience now, Tennessee, there's areas probably not so much. But our experience in Tennessee, the people are just so phenomenal and out of the way nice. It's almost mind-numbing. But there are nice people here in Savannah, and we've been pleasantly surprised to meet a lot of them.
Yep, I absolutely love it here. So,
but no, we're not moving to Savannah. Not going to happen.
We'll just visit.
We'll visit. Absolutely.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
That's all I got.
We're going to say peace out.
Peace out.
Love you guys.
See you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.